so happy at Helmer's, and it just was like it was it wasn't that we needed to go there. It's that we wanted to find something that fit. And as soon as Griffin got there, he started making films for every single project. And that's when I really started seeing him blossom into what he, like he had more freedom in every subject. So that's how I found it.
That speaks to the beautiful time that we're living in right now in education. I was reading an article that indicated 20 years ago, and for the 100 years prior to that, the most important decision a parent could make is what doctor to send their child to. And for the last 20 years now, the most important decision a parent can make is what school to send their child to. And that just speaks to the fact that we have school choice now. When you and I were growing up, we went to the local school down on the corner, and now parents have a choice as to where they can send their kids to school, which is really exciting.
I absolutely agree. I feel like I tell this to parents all the time when they talk about taking tours of SCVi. I said, well, it's not for everyone, but the amazing thing is that here in SCV, we have so many great options for all kinds of students and different kinds of learning. And both kids actually are in different programs. Sam's in innovations and Griffin's in exploration programs at SCVi that allow them to, kind of make their own curriculum what works for them.
Yeah, so Griffin, will you talk a little bit about explorations and?
Well, definitely, yes. I find it completely. I love it personally because you get to have the freedom of homeschooling at your house and being able to take the work from school and be doing it in the comfort of your own home and having more of the time to explore those topics more thoroughly. And it's interesting because you still have the aspect of school behind it. Like you get to still go to the school, you can still do activities inside of school, but still always going back to homeschooling at your house. And like it's connecting to the school and still being a part of the school is really fantastic with that program. I think it's fantastic for me personally, and I enjoy it with every bit of time I get to spend with it. So,
well, and plus you kind of get to do your curriculum when you're ready, and you get to do so much more of the filmmaking because you have a lot more time.
Exactly, yes. Like, I mean, I can for, like, English, some of my curriculum is writing on my script. Some of my curriculum is doing storyboards for art, for computer science is editing my film. I can put all these great things that I would be doing on the side without and be putting it into my curriculum and getting school credit for it, which is amazing because that's what you would be doing in college, but I can do it so much earlier now with iLEAD Exploration.
Which kind of actually leads into, Sam, you're actually in another program that we have at SCVi. It is Innovations. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, with Innovations, you have a lot of freedom. It's like with Exploration, but more site-based. And with that freedom comes a lot of responsibility. It teaches you a lot of responsibility being in Innovations. And, so you can work at home, you can work there. And it's with Innovations, it's more self-directed. And a lot of your projects, you could pick on what you do. And, like for me, I'm choosing acting, and also I'm a little bit into DJing now. So I do a lot with my English, I can do script writing for a film class that I take, and stuff like that, yeah.
So you can tie in a lot of what what you're learning into
exactly
what you love to do.
And like with both things, like now, we can bend it now to where, we have the time to catch up to, do the work later, and we have to come here today, to miss this morning portion and just know that we can put it back into later this evening or work it in. It's that great freedom of being able to do things that are going to help you even in the future, like getting the word out is really fantastic.
Well, I also think that they couldn't have made the films that they did without this kind of freedom because I would say last week, there was some reshoots, and Sam immediately, we called him, and he said, I'll be there in an hour, and he was allowed to come, and there wasn't any kind of penalty because he wasn't there at class. He just made it up. And we shot, Griffin had probably about an hour shoot that was, very small, but he got it done, and then it was added right into the film. So they're using their time in a more creative way, but then they're finding these real life kind of things where, it's like a big giant puzzle to make the film complete, and the boys are learning those skills in doing that.
That's so cool that SCVi offers all those different types of programs to meet the individual needs and passions of the students. So if you're more the type of student that needs to go to class Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 3:30, and we have that program. Like Sam, if you need to be more involved in a somewhat of an independent study program like Innovation Studios, then we've got that helps you build your projects and your curriculum around your passions. Great. And then Griffin, in our exploration program, our homeschool program, you have even more of that flexibility for you as the parent, Tondi, to build the curriculum. That's amazing. Now, Griffin, so we've talked a little bit about you as a filmmaker. How did you get into filmmaking?
Well, it was something that I feel I was always just born with. It was a passion that I came into the world having. Now, I mean, there's footage that we have of me on one of the high 8 cameras, you put a little cassette in, of me going to preschool, and I reach for the camera and I'm like, I want to film. I want the camera. And I didn't even know what filmmaking was. I'm going to preschool. And so anyway, I mean, it started, I think, from the day I was born. And so from that time, I wanted to make a movie. I don't think I personally knew what making a film was, but so for every year for my birthday, from 5 to 9, from 5 to 9, I would my parents would get like all my friends from the neighborhood, and we would make a short film. And they knew how to put it together. I mean, I'm a 5-year-old, and so I would have the ideas. And so my first was I wanted to make a superhero movie with vampires and aliens. So they're, okay, let's do this.
Perfect.
Put
Chase
up
your
the
passions.
story. And I don't think anyone can understand how difficult it is to make 5-year-old and 4-year-old children say specific lines. They had the entire script out, and so and for all my birthday parties from that point on, it was a premiere, and it was showing the short film. And so from one time, I think I was like 7, I saw Jaws. And one day, and I think
7.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well,
Actually, he was 5.5. But
Okay, thanks for the
but
correction.
we were actually out of town, and my mother called me and said, "Do you think it's a good idea that Griffin watches Jaws?" And I said, "No, hold on a second. Let me ask his dad." And then I got on the phone, and Rob said, "No, I don't think it's a good idea." And then I said, "Denise, I don't think it's a good idea." She said, "Oh, okay." When we got home, Griffin said, "Guess what I watched? Jaws." And I said it wasn't a good idea. And my mother said, "I thought you said it was a good idea."
well, I've always felt like I was born older, so 7 felt more like 5 felt more like 7.
You were ready
and
for
so,
it.
Anyway, but when I saw that film, it clicked in me what the craft of filmmaking was. I realized that it was a mosaic of images, like Alfred Hitchcock says, put together to make feelings and evoke images in your head that present something. And that's when it clicked, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. This is what I was born to do, and this is what I've been trying to do, and it all realizes now. And so for every birthday from 5 to 9, making short films with all my friends. At 9, I came around to, I should start be doing this more on my own. And so I should start stepping away from the parent side of this and start putting things together, just with myself and people that I can pull in, because I want to try, advancing in it. You always got to take those steps further. And so we got to SCVi. And like my mom said, when I found out that I could make short films for my projects and for pieces of learning, it was just amazing to have that realization of I could be doing a short film for history, art, science, and so for every project, I was making a short film. And I think my first real big short film was I was in a class with Miss Kelly, and she was our art teacher, and it was a claymation thing that I made, and it was called Project X, and it was the scientist guy that a burglar breaks in and steals this potion, and then he's running out and he accidentally drops it in the dock, and it gets on an octopus. The octopus grows really big and like terrorizes this town. Anyway, the scientist has to come back, put a potion on him, make him tiny again. And so basically that was my first big short film that, the first time I found out what hot set means. It's because we had in our living room, our entire living room was filled with these claymation sets, some broken, some smashed. And at the end of the day, my mom was like, "Oh, put a sign on the door that says hot set." And so I put it on, and that was the day that I found out what hot set was. So, but anyway,
Today
and so that
that's
was the
for
first
me.
one. And next was the hand. The hand was where I really got artistic in the filmmaking aspect. I made it black and white. It was a 1950s kind of noir piece, and it was black and white. And it was about this one guy, the screenwriter, and there's this hand that comes to life and tries to kill everyone. And so that was the first one that I showed it to an audience in my class, and my teachers allowed me to show it to everyone in the class, which was astounding to me. I was like, wow, I can really present this now to people outside that weren't making the film. Because for my premieres, for my birthday, it was all the kids that were inside the film. Now I can show it to people outside of the film, which was amazing to get feedback on that and see how they react to what I created and the parts of.
Oh, I just have to interject. Also, he made DVDs, and he also made some money on the side, which was, I think, very hypnotic for him, because kids were coming up and begging, like, "Oh, can I get a copy? Can I get a copy?" And I think he sold like 4 copies to the same kid.
So we're not talking about just campy home movies on your phone. You're making legit movies. In
Yes,
fact, you've
and
made some
now-
full-length movies.
Yes, and so after so that was the very starting point.
Right.
And so then I made my first feature-length film, which is called Calling the Shots, and it's available on Amazon Prime and Vimeo on demand now, so you can go check it out if you want.
I've seen it. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
I was
Thank you.
expecting like a neat little student-made movie. It is a bona fide movie. It's got a great story. The acting in there is
Thank
fantastic.
you. Yes, Sam. Sam was one of the big roles in that one.
Yep.
Yeah, and so yes, that was my first feature-length film, and it's about this kid that is location scouting to make a film, and he comes across this murder between a bank robber and a cop in the middle of the desert. And the cop sees him running away, and so it turns into like this chase between the cop and the kid against trying to find him. And so that was my first film. My second one, which is now in post-production, is The Adventure of TP Man and Flusher. Now Sam plays the lead in that one also, and it deals with the social conflict and epidemic of teen suicide and depression in this one. And yeah, I realized that it was something that that was really dramatic, and it was terrible to see happening around me, and I feel like I really had to do something and pull attention to this. And so that film covers topics with that, but also is a fun adventure film about 2 best friends' last night together and the big adventure that they go through. And so
That is fantastic. So you're tackling some heavy topics.
Definitely.
So Sam, you've now starred in Griffin's 2 feature-length films. How did you get involved in acting?
Well, really, I think it was 7th grade. Griffin came up to me and asked me to be in one of his short films, just as like a little hobby thing on the side.
Gladiators of War,
yes.
and that was for a school project also. That was for history and innovations.
Yeah. So he asked me to do that, and I just thought, hey, why not? It's fun to do. And ever since then, really, I've had a deep passion for acting, thanks to Griffin.
So tell me about your character in this film.
So I play Flusher, or Jim, and Jim is he's bipolar, and he's also depressed. His parents weren't around a lot, and
You guys are tackling some heavy topics in this
yeah,
film.
yeah.
That's amazing.
So
Oh, I also have to say, though, that when Sam first started acting in Griffin's films, you were 13,
Yeah.
I think 13, and he was the only one that had cuss words in the script. And Griffin was actually acting. He acted in this first one. He doesn't act in the second one, but and there were some kiss scenes, and we had a wonderful little actress, Emily Berrigan, and
Goes to SCVi.
she is just also a student there at the traditional high school, and to try to get these kids to cuss was quite the task. Sam was they're such good kids that it was, pretty hard.
So before we go to break, I understand this film won an award. We've only got a couple of seconds, but what award did you win?
At Indie Fest, we won an award, which is a very, very it's an honor. Yes,
That is a
cool.
huge honor.
Yes.
Huge honor.
Really proud of you guys. Great to hear all the wonderful things that you guys are doing.
Well,
we
and
need
we-
to take
we
a short break.
We do, and we hope that you guys can come. Will you guys come back? to the show and maybe talk more about that. That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be terrific. So when we do come back, we'll have Ramon Hamilton in studio talking about our new media department. You're listening to SCVi Charter Schools, Our Way on the Highway. I'm your host, Matt Watson, with Chris Nilsson here on KHTS.
The minute I open my door,
Debbie Morris has a problem.
I say, oh my gosh,
A really big problem.
the dog, the cat, my 3-year-old.
Debbie's house is a mess.
How can one family create this disaster?
Debbie needs Made for You.
I need help.
Professional, residential, and commercial cleaning, locally owned. You choose the schedule: weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or even one-time seasonal cleaning. Call 255-2922. That's 255-2922. Made for You.
Made for You rescued me.
Your hometown station.
It can happen at any time. Breaking news in the Santa Clarita Valley. KHTS has you covered. Brush fires, emergency freeway closures, police activity. If it's happening in the SCV, we'll let you know about it with our breaking news coverage. Keep a channel preset to your hometown station, KHTS.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Come join me, Arif Halby, for Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Every Tuesday at noon, we uncover ways to help you manage your money, get out of debt, and prepare for your retirement. That's every Tuesday at noon on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Are you not sure if you can retire yet? Listen to us and learn about tips for savings, retirement strategies, and so much more. That's every Tuesday at noon on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour on your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 on the AM dial, and now coming to you on FM at 98.1. This is Chris Nilsson with Matt Watson of SCVi and iLEAD Schools. We're hosting together for Our Way on the Highway. Welcome back. Today, we have a great show so far. We have heard from two of our filmmakers from SCVi talking about the amazing things that they are doing while they're in school. Now, I'd like to welcome another very special guest into the studio, Ramon Hamilton. Ramon is an award-winning independent filmmaker. Together with his wife, Jennifer, founded the Santa Clarita Film Festival in 2005, which they ran for 7 years. And he is a full-time facilitator at iLEAD's founding school, SCVi. Welcome, Ramon.
Hey, Chris. Thanks so much for having me.
Wow, so you're doing a lot.
Yes.
So you're also running the new media department for SCVi and iLEAD Schools. As I mentioned in our last break, SCVi is our founding school in Castaic. We've got all those amazing programs that Griffin and Sam were talking about to provide our students with a lot of flexibility. iLEAD Schools is our parent organization. We've got 10 schools throughout Southern California and a couple other locations as well. Ramon, tell us a little bit about new media. So what is new media? This is kind of a hard concept for me to get my head around.
Well, you know, Matt, it's actually a hard concept for even people that are creating new media. Essentially, new media would be really any sort of digital technology, any media specifically that incorporates digital technology. Now, that can be anything from social media to gaming consoles to our mobile phones. It could include podcasts, and then also obviously it can include, a merger of all of these things. So, even as we're moving forward and trying to define what new media is, we do know some of the basic components, but even, as the future keeps developing every single day, I mean, the definition honestly just changes. So, there's like now, I mean, a lot of new media is being explored in VR, AR, which is virtual reality, and augmented reality, and interactivity, whether it's, obviously video games have been around for a while now, but the immersion of those through some of the newer technologies, as well as just interactive storytelling in general. But it doesn't just apply to entertainment. New media can also help things like the medical field. It can also help bridge communication. It can also break down cultural barriers. It goes on and on and on. It's a kind of a rabbit hole, so to speak.
You and I have talked about this before, and it is kind of interesting. I'm a historian, and when we look back at the creation of newer medias like radio and television and movies and things like that, the name was always so important. And in fact, groups that were developing these media were almost working harder to develop the name than they were the media. When you and I talked, we talked about, okay, so what is this new media called? And you told me it doesn't really have a name. We're not really sure what it is, but people are already developing it. It's moving so much more quickly than we can even kind of keep up with in our own lexicon.
Sure, and I think a big part of that is just access in general. Going back to Griffin and Sam that were just on here prior to myself. I actually had the fortune of having Sam. Sam is actually currently in one of my classes, is in my film class, and Griffin was part of one of my film classes last year. But even them with the filmmaking, you go back even 10, 15, 20 years, and the access was drastically limited, especially when we hadn't reached the so-called digital age and we were still shooting on film. But now, I mean, really you can become a filmmaker with a very modest budget. You can create video games with free software like Unity or Unreal. I mean, just the access is it's much greater than it's ever been, which is allowing for more people to enter the space, which obviously allows for more creativity. And then the more creativity, then, I mean, it kind of becomes a very infinite amount of possibilities that people can create. So it's a really, really awesome time. It's moving very fast, and new things are developing literally every single day. This is why I get so excited about exploring this whole new media arena.
Okay, so I'm trying to get my head around what you do. It seems like while the rest of us are sleeping, you're just continuing to work. So you're a full-time teacher at SCVi.
Correct.
Teaching these film classes and other classes. You also help coordinate the high school design tech classes, which are kind of like these really neat and innovative, what others might refer to as elective classes, but
Correct.
They're really cutting edge.
Mm-hmm.
So you're coordinating that. I understand you're coaching one of the teams at SCVi. What team do you coach?
I coached the flag football team. We actually, our season just wrapped at the end of last month.
Fantastic. How'd you guys do?
We did all right. It was actually our very first season. We actually have never had a flag football team in high school, so I was actually really proud with how they did this season.
Fantastic. And then you're also developing what you're teaching, besides teaching your regular classes in, advanced filmmaking and new media, you're also designing this new media department
Yes.
for all of our schools. So why is it so important that our students and we be involved in new media as it evolves so quickly?
Well, I think the first thing that we just have to come to realize, and I think most of us already do realize, is that new media is already embedded in the fabric of our existence. I mean, everyone now has cell phones, or smartphones, I should say, and we're constantly using new media, whether we are aware of it or not. So I think that's the first thing, is it's been here, it's still here, and it's only going to get more embedded into our society. For two, a huge portion of new media, so to speak, or new digital and innovative tools really helps solve a lot of problems. So, it's safe to say that the world is not rid of all problems, right? There's always new things that need to be solved, and new media and digital tools can absolutely help solve these things. One of the things we talked about just a few moments ago is also the ability to break down barriers. One of the new media aspects that I'm really into is virtual reality, which can allow you to just enter, so many different types of virtual spaces. It can be a computer-generated space, that can be a game or just an experience, but it can also take you, into, a real environment that you may not necessarily be able to actually access. A really good friend of mine who's based in New York, his mom is from I forget where in Spain. She's from some city in Spain. It's kind of an obscure city. But the point is, his mom has been in the States for several years, and she's actually not able to travel. So he actually, he went to this city. He was able to capture it in stereoscopic 3D, brought it back, which basically just adds like a dimension. It kind of, adds like real life depth. He was able to bring this back to her and put her back in her home city. I mean, that type of thing is amazing. And the medical field is embracing this type of technology. So there's just, there's already a need. There's already very practical solutions that new media is actually implementing. But I think what's really awesome to think about is, other issues, other things, other world problems. How can we, further innovate and actually use media and digital tools to help solve some of these problems? And that doesn't even go along with entertainment, which is a whole other aspect of new media.
Absolutely. And that's what I was thinking when you were talking. So, when we talk about creating media and creating movies, when we were talking with Sam and Griffin, I was thinking about these fun little campy home movies that I see kids post all the time. But you're talking more along the lines of solving some social problems, finding solutions to some of the complex problems that are already out there in the world. So we have the need to create this new media, and then people, including our teenagers, are already doing that in one form or another, like you said, with their phones, and we see things posted every day, and whether it's on YouTube or other forms of social media, kids are already putting this new media out there. Why not be proactive about marrying the accessibility along with the problems that need to be solved? That's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. And it's, the thing that I think older generations, and I'm going to include myself in there, is that, the younger generation, including like kids like my own that are 7 and 9, they literally grew up in this digital age. For my son with his 3DS, he was already, at the age of, 5, able to experience augmented reality. Pokemon Go was this, widespread thing and still, out there. And again,
kind of like where you're blending true images with superimposed images and things like that.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's just normalized for them, They, we have a PlayStation VR at my house, so they've already experienced, these virtual, gaming experiences and virtual movies and things like that. So it's not this foreign concept. They are the largest consumers of this. I mean, I check with my kids, because also we didn't mention I teach a new media class as well. So yeah, I don't as one of our design tech electives.
Great.
And I mean, I talk to these kids, and every single one of them has experienced virtual reality, augmented reality. You go into a room full of adults, and I'm not sure I would get the same response. So they're already consuming it, and it helps them to also media literacy, understand like how are things made, why are they made? Everything is always made by people, and there's always an intent. So understanding that by actually making helps them like break down what is the intent of the content creator as they, navigate this whole world of digital media that is literally hitting them in the face every single second.
You bring up a great topic about why we actually shift the vocabulary at our school, where our teachers are actually called facilitators.
Yes.
As you mentioned, our kids are growing up as digital natives. They're living in this time, and oftentimes the technology that's available is more real, more accessible to them than it is to even us. Mm-hmm. But what they need is kind of the guidance of how to produce this ethically, and how to maybe break down some of the barriers that are in front of them, maybe because of their younger age. And so that's where you step in as a facilitator, helping to guide them as they're just continuing to develop what's natural for them.
Yeah, and I think, the term facilitator absolutely speaks to exactly what it is that we do, including myself. I enter any class, whether it's a film class or a new media class, and it's always, starting with, okay, so if we're going to create some new media, what doesn't exist? Let's start there. Or what would you like to see exist? Or what exists but you would like to see better? We always start with a problem, because there's always problems. And so that already gets the wheels thinking and turning, and that's where innovation starts. Now, from there, I mean, the real instruction comes from us just solving that problem, however those kids defined that problem. And I just help them, I facilitate. I just kind of help them, and guide them through the process, but I don't tell them what to do. I don't tell them what to create. I want that needs to be guided by them, because they're the largest consumers of it. They absolutely know better than I myself, as to, where we should go in terms of innovating in that digital space.
So, Ramon, I was so
Yes.
excited this year, and adding to our visual and performing arts choices, we have film. So you teach 2 film classes, and you teach our International Baccalaureate film program. Does new media tie into that, or is it kind of a different curriculum?
I would say in terms of the IB curriculum, it does not have an application or any new media tied to it. However, because it is, at least the subject that I'm teaching is film, it by default kind of does. I mean, now films and even, so-called TV experiences and things like that, we're getting more and more virtual reality type experiences and augmented reality. So the art of storytelling through film is absolutely, transferring into the virtual reality space. But at the end of the day, with IB, it's really understanding, the intent of a filmmaker and the intent of a film, and really understanding like different cultural contexts as well as the film elements. So you can, I mean, that applies to really anything. If you're experiencing a story on World War II and it happens to be a movie, or it's a VR experience, it's still an experience about World War II and understanding the cultural context of what was happening, understanding the intents of the content creator. Yes, they absolutely do go side by side. So no, it's not formally in there, but of course, like anything, there's no hard divisions between things. Everything kind of merges just like it does in real life. So,
Well, do you think it's important that they kind of know the history of kind of filmmaking and what that is in tying it into new media? Do you think it needs to be part of that?
yes, absolutely. In terms of IB or new media specifically?
I would say both. I would say
So
both.
yeah, I mean, in new media, absolutely, it's a little different, and the kids really love this because we kind of explore the history of gaming. So I bring in my old school Nintendo Entertainment System from the '80s, and then we look at the progression to like the 32-bit age up into the PS2, and then current generation models, consoles, and everything, and we really just understand like the how new media, so to speak, has developed, and obviously in that sense, it's entertainment and gaming. But it's absolutely important because what they notice is at the end of the day, the user is still expecting a fun experience. I don't care if it was new media in the 80s through a video game then, or if it's some sort of VR experience. They're looking for a good, fun experience, and that never changes. Same thing with film in terms of IB. We look at a lot of the classic films, but we also look at some of the new films. But at the end of the day, the films are meant to engage an audience. So, and it's absolutely helpful to see, okay, how were they able to engage audiences back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, all these different time periods and through different genres. And then that can get them to understand, okay, because part of IB is they have to make a film. They actually have to work on a few different films. So it allows them to understand, okay, what is my audience? What am I trying to do? How did other people approach this? And hopefully they're thinking, well, how can I actually approach it, better? Learn from what other filmmakers have done, not copy or mimic, but, apply some of those techniques and improve upon them in whichever capacity, based on their project. So, yes, exploring past content is absolutely, in my opinion, crucial to developing new content.
That's so interesting.
So you've got quite a bit of experience in these areas as well. So as I was mentioning how busy you must be, you're teaching all these innovative programs, developing them not only for SCVi but some of our other schools. But you've also produced some films of your own as well.
Yeah, I do. So I have a company outside, our independent company called Think 10 Media Group. We do, for the most part, we've done scripted feature-length films. We do have one short film out right now that's been traveling the film festival circuit. This is actually a pretty awesome project that I'm really proud of, and SCVi was actually a part of it because we shot quite a bit of it there. But this is a film called Rachel's Pitch, which was a collaboration with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And so I was able to mentor a 16-year-old aspiring filmmaker who battled lymphoma. She's now in remission, and we shot an amazing film. And I'm really proud to say, our previous film had a record of 15 film festival acceptances, and this one just beat it. So this film's at 16. And it's still touring. So it's pretty cool. So that's the one that's currently out right now. Like I said, touring the film festival circuit. But also we are taking our first dabble into virtual reality. So we are creating a sort of crime murder mystery that's actually based on a true story. That is, it's a virtual reality project that will be deployed. Which outlet we're possibly aiming towards, something like the Gear VR or maybe gaming consoles after. We're not quite sure yet, but that's currently what's in development right now. So that's going to be essentially, it's like your own personal theater experience. Imagine going to a theater and the actors are on set and you literally get to sit right there on the stage and just watch them perform for you. Not necessarily obviously for you, but they're performing in front of you and you are just right there soaking up the experience. But it's also done in a cinematic way in terms of, very just natural, real life performances. So it really just kind of places the viewer in this experience as they try to figure out this whole murder mystery.
So we're not talking about a professional that has experience in a field who then leaves that field, stops working, and goes into the classroom and starts teaching kids about things that they did 10, 15, 20 years ago.
No,
you're actually producing this new media and simultaneously working with our kids to develop some of their own ideas.
Correct. Yes, and I think it's absolutely beneficial both ways. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of these kids that I work with at SCVi, they already have a lot of experience with VR. So they've actually been able to give me some input and help help me understand, because I experience VR, but they do it a lot more than I do. They just have more free time. But it also goes the other way, because I do have kids, especially some of the IB kids, Chris, that we were just talking about, IB, that are actually helping out on the outside, real world projects. So they're actually getting real world experience by creating content. So it really just makes both experiences better, especially when trying to innovate and create new, create things in this new sphere, where it's really being the consumer, the consumers are really these young people. And so their input, if we don't get it, is actually going to do a disservice to our project. So we have to get that feedback and that input, and in this case, directly hands-on helping with the actual projects.
Wow, fantastic. So it goes beyond being a facilitator. You're kind of a mentor and collaborator, working side by side with these kids as you guys are developing your ideas, not as a class project, but they're developing stuff that has real world application today.
Correct.
So you talked about this media kind of solving problems. So how do you kind of push the kids? I know you talked about it, you hinted on it a little bit earlier, but how do you push them to work on problems? What are some of the ideas that they're coming up with, and how do they get generated?
Sure. Well, like we said earlier, we start with just asking what problems they see, what they would like to improve upon, or things like that. And it's fascinating because they're always going to come up with things that I really would never have thought of. For example, right now in my Film 1 class, which is mostly freshmen with a few sophomores. In fact, Sam, that was just on here earlier, is in that Film 1 class. The project that we're just wrapping up, and I'm very proud about, is they basically were to create a live action film in which they had to identify some sort of an issue that is important to them. It can be something community-based, it can be national, it can be global, whatever. It was just basically something that's important to you that you want to be able to communicate through the art of filmmaking. And so prior to that, to diving into it, we actually looked at some examples of some very successful films. One successful film was Blackfish, which was a documentary on the orcas, and that actually had a really big impact on the kids. But it also got them to really think like, oh wow, this can actually, because that film actually did have real life change. Actual things were changed because of that film, which is fantastic. And so from there, it's about then understanding, okay, I'm going to create a story, which always starts with the script, and how can this particular story communicate what it is that I'm trying to communicate. And their whole idea is that they want to communicate whatever is important to them. And we have a bunch of different issues, everything ranging from depression to the rising homelessness, in their opinions, the need to innovate the learning experience in schools.
Make school more engaging and exciting.
Yes,
okay.
yeah. And again, these are coming from them. So
that's great.
It's also just helps me understand, where are they at? What matters to them? A lot of times we think kids aren't engaged and kids don't necessarily care about, their world and their community. And that could be farther from the truth. These kids are very engaged.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I have seen that kids really are involved and want to make a difference in life. It's one of the funny maybe or generational gap things where I see people in my generation constantly thinking, how can we monetize this? And kids are thinking, how can I make a difference? How can I get more likes, more exposure?
Yes, absolutely.
That kind of thing. However, we can bridge that gap a little bit because I know you're talking about how kids are out there solving problems. Some of our listeners might be business owners thinking, well, the problem that I'm having is how can I reach more clients in the Santa Clarita Valley? Or how can I get a better uptake in this area or that area? How could we blend what the kids are doing in school with some of the needs of our local small businesses and things like that?
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things that we do want to start exploring with our new media program, especially the one that's already in existence now. Because, I think obviously as an independent business owner myself, there's always these things that we're trying to solve. And one of them is just trying to reach our audience. And I think that if they were to collaborate actually with some students and find ways to create some media that is innovative and engaging to an audience that can get more likes, more views, etc., and things like that.
Okay.
Awesome. Ramon, how do you even get through the day? with everything that you do?
I just keep moving. Just keep moving. I try not to
Because
think
working
about
on the site base with you and seeing all of the design tech program that we have and who you've reached out to in the community and the opportunities our kids get to actually learn different things in the community is great. I just love what you do and what you bring to the table at SCVi. It's wonderful.
Well, it's time again for a short commercial break. You're listening to SCVi Charter Schools, Our Way on the Highway. I'm your host, Matt Watson, with Chris Nelson on your hometown station, KHTS.
It's never been so easy to have a great night out. Whether it's a date night or girls' night out, experience Pinot's Palette in Valencia or Encino. Order your favorite drink from the bar and paint your very own masterpiece. No art experience needed. Local artists make it easy for you. So you can paint, sip, and listen to great music while creating a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. Fun, relaxing, and memorable. Pinot's Palette. To book your party, go to pinotspalette.com. That's pinotspalette.com.
Your hometown station.
Our news team at KHTS is constantly working to keep you informed. If you want the latest and greatest information on the Santa Clarita Valley, just sign up for the KHTS newsletter. SCV News delivered directly to your email inbox every weekday by 5 p.m. and a special weekend edition on Sundays. All it takes is an email address and you're set. Go to hometownstation.com to register.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Why do people from all over Santa Clarita come to our spa in Canyon Country? Simple. They want the highest quality services at prices that everyone can afford. This is Rosemary from Beyond Harmony Med Spa. Read our reviews and know why we won the Ultimate Beauty Awards 2 years in a row by the readers of Elite magazine. Come and see how close we really are and experience the level of excellence that our clients have loved for the past 13 years. Go to beyondharmony.com or call 298-8008 today for a free consultation.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 on the AM dial and FM at 98.1. This is Matt Watson. I'm joined again in the studio by my co-host, Chris Nelson from SCVi Charter School, and you're listening to Our Way on the Highway. Welcome back. Chris, we've had a really exciting show today. In fact, I wish we could go 2 hours. There just didn't seem to be enough time to have Griffin and Sam share everything that they're doing with their filmmaking and some of this new media that Ramon's creating. I could have gone for another hour.
I think it's definitely time. We'll have another show. We'll have to invite them back.
Yeah, we can definitely bring them back. Now, you have a very interesting challenge and at the same time a very exciting opportunity. We've got all these innovative projects going on and really exciting classes at SCVi. But when we were talking to Sam and Griffin, they were talking about how they were enrolled in different programs. They're not necessarily on campus 5 days a week like a lot of the students that you work with, but they're still able to get involved with those different classes. They're able to come on campus and attend some of those classes. How does that work for a student like Griffin who's homeschooled through SCVi or Sam who's involved in our independent study program? How is it that they're able to also attend some of the site-based classes?
Well, as you had talked about earlier, today's day and age, there's so many options for kids, and I love that. And part of iLEAD, we have different programs. So yes, we have explorations and we have innovations, but because they're under the umbrella of iLEAD and Santa Clarita Valley, they're able to take courses on site, which means maybe there's a course they can't really find while they're at home, or they want to have some of that socialization or kind of be able to collaborate with kids that they can't do at home. They are able to take courses on site. So as we said, Sam is actually in the film class, and that occurs 3 days a week. So he's able to come on campus, be in the film class and get all that experience, and then he's able to leave and kind of finish his other work at home or with other projects that he's doing.
Okay, cool. So as you mentioned, kind of SCVi, iLEAD kind of thing. SCVi is our founding school in Castaic, but iLEAD is our parent organization that has several other schools that work very closely with SCVi. And in fact, I know some of your kids are taking some online classes through a completely independent school, iLEAD Online, but they work closely together, being part of the same organization. And so how exciting for a kid like Sam that he's able to kind of not have to choose the combo plate, but he can go a la carte and say, okay, yeah, I need to be in this independent study program, but what you're doing at the high school, at the local campus, is exciting to me. So I'm going to pop in there for 3 days a week and take my 1 hour class there. And then I'm going to pop over to my independent study studio and collaborate with some kids there. I'm going to finish up some of the rest of my work at home. That's really exciting and innovative.
Yeah, that's a great point, how you kind of said the a la carte thing. I think that all kids learn differently, and so we want to make sure we have all of those resources. Some kids do great with online, but they also want that high school experience. And like I said, like I've said, for the 2 years I've been at SCVi, I have the best job on the planet. As part of my job as academic counselor, I'm the college counselor, and I have the pleasure of working with not only the site-based kids, which I get to see on a daily basis, but those kids in explorations and innovations. They will come in, we will talk about college, we'll create the list, and I'm learning so much about kind of a program and a population that I didn't have experience with. So it's been great. I'm so lucky.
That's great, because when I used to think of homeschooling, I used to think of families that were completely disconnected from the local school. But you do a great job, and as do a lot of our other programs, of reaching out and making sure that our homeschool families, such as Griffin, stay closely connected and still are able to avail themselves to all the fantastic programs that you offer on the site, as well as at some of our other schools.
And that even includes activities, events, field study programs, anything they're able to participate, especially in senior year when we have prom and we have our grad night. They're welcome to do all of those things. And I think they also bring their experiences of not being on site-based to our kids who maybe don't know anything about our other programs.
That is fantastic. So I can be a homeschool kid and still go on a field trip with some of the regular classes.
Yes.
Or I can attend prom, and I can, and a lot of our kids do, participate in graduation, and so I don't have to miss some of those things. I was always worried about that. Well, if you're going to homeschool, you don't get to go to prom or things like that.
Right. Yeah, no, not true.
Very cool. And you said you're also involved with college counseling. So tell me about what some of our kids are doing, some of our seniors maybe, as far as where they're heading next year.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time. As you know, I am the academic and college counselor. My passion that I didn't know I had until now is college. Amazing. As much as it's not the path for everyone, it is something that we reach for. And it's more the adventure of getting out in the world, meeting people, sharing ideas, finding new interests. Right now, it is the college application time period, especially for our
It's your
university.
busy time.
Yes, University of California and our Cal State applications are due November 30th. So all of our kids are working hard on those. For the UC applications, they have to answer 4 prompts, and so they have the break. We are on Thanksgiving break next week, so it's a great opportunity to kind of sit down and get those done. And then for some of the small liberal arts colleges, which I do love and promote, some of their deadlines are a little bit December, January, February, so there is time for kids to get some of that work in and to get those applications done.
So acceptances haven't been coming in yet, but where are some of the kids applying to?
We have a couple acceptances.
Oh,
I
great.
have one Washington State, Colorado State. We have Grand Canyon University. That's a big push for some of our kids. And, the other day I just get that awesome experience. I had one of our seniors come in. Actually, she's graduating early, so she's technically a junior, and she just found out that she's getting money from the federal government for FAFSA, and it will only cost her $6,000 a year to go to Grand Canyon University. So a shout out to Janie Rolfe. She was very excited. She was in tears, and to see that excitement for someone who's going to be embarking on that future after graduation, it was great. It was just, it makes my job every day.
So that is fantastic. So you're not only guiding kids as to college applications, but you're helping them find funding sources in case maybe my family can't afford to send the kids to college. You're helping them with that as well. So many services you offer to our kids. I did want to recap a little bit and talk about some of the programs that we've discussed here today. Griffin wanted to make sure that we mentioned how people can get in touch with his newest feature film. I understand it is coming out in January of 2019, so that's coming really soon. It's going to be available. The Adventure of TP Man and Flusher is his new film. Going to be available on iTunes and Amazon as well as Google. And you can follow Griffin on Instagram at TPman and Flusher Movie, at TPman and Flusher Movie, or on Facebook at The Adventure of TP Man and Flusher Movie, on Facebook at The Adventure of TP Man and Flusher Movie. If you'd like to talk to Ramon, he is certainly available pretty frequently at SCVi. Feel free to stop by the campus. So how can we get in contact? Do you know the phone number to the campus? Can people call and take tours?
Sure. It's 661-705-4823. They can, yes, we definitely welcome. We actually had a prospective family night last night, and I was able to be there and talk to some families about college and what we do at the high school, and it was great. So, yes, come on down. We'd love it.
So if filmmaking and new media is their passion, that's the place to be. But we've got a lot of other things going on. We just look to help kids find their passion and chase after it full speed. So one more time, what's the phone number that I can connect at SCVi with if I want to take a tour?
661-705-4823.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate
Thank you.
Not only what you've done here today, but everything that you do for our kids, getting them into college and getting them tracked into some of these fantastic programs. We really do appreciate it. We want to thank you for joining us one more time. You've been listening to KHTS. I'm Matt Watson, along with Chris Nielsen.
Good to
hosts
see ya.
of SCVi Charters Our Way on the Highway on 1220 AM KHTS.